Hello everybody and welcome to Green Star Trading with me, Tom. All views, opinions and ideas expressed in this video are my own and do not constitute financial or trading advice in any way. Right, for the next few minutes we're going to be looking at a bit of a mixed bag. We're going to be doing a quick update to Bitcoin and Ethereum just because we're seeing some life after this correction. We may still be in the correction heading lower, but we're seeing some signs of life to the upside at the moment, so we can point out some of the things we want to look for to give us confidence that we may have bottomed here. I'm not going to just call the low without evidence, obviously we don't do that, but we can at least look for some signs and see if there's any signs of life and also how we'd like to see it play out. If we've had time after I've updated Bitcoin and Ethereum, we might find some time to look at a couple of alts. So without further ado, let's get started. Here on Bitcoin on the day time frame, looking at my primary count. So a very quick reminder, we've had A, B, C, primary 3 into 4, and then we've had 1, 2, and we're saying 1, 2 with a big 3 to come now, which will put us into the 3 of the 3 of the 5 at primary degree. Now there is a more uber bullish count over the long term, and I am considering, but until we see some kind of either bearish conclusion to a larger pattern like this, or we see some kind of bullish continuation here which is convincing and impulsive, we're just going to stick with this primary count for the meantime until we see something that tells us that we're melting up. If we were to break new highs and just accelerate and the volume was there and the momentum was there and everything switched up a notch, then we could consider a more bullish case. But for the moment I think that primary 5 is the more likely case. So on the shorter time frame, intermediate 1 to complete here, intermediate minor 1 to potentially complete here. So let's just get rid of the Elliott wave count. We'll come and dig into the smaller time frame in a bit, but let's just have a look at the chart itself for the moment. Now we appear to have what looks like a bullish hammer for the moment. Now obviously it's early in the day, so this could be a bearish candle by the day's close. This could even be an engulfing candle by today's close. Now that would be extremely bullish if that were to happen. So what would be an engulfing candle be? An engulfing candle would be that we move up and we gobble up all of the previous day's candle, which was very bearish candle here. So if we were to gobble all of that up and close above it, that means that this candle, if it completed like that, would have gobbled up all of this previous candle. It would engulfed it, hence the name engulfing candle, engulfing bullish candle. It could complete as a hammer here with another bullish pattern of candles to continue to take out this high. So we'll wait and see. At the moment we can't really call it because obviously it's early in the day. We'll have to wait and see how this closes. This could reverse down into a more bearish collapse, who knows. So that's the first thing we'd want to look for. Either we put in a bullish hammer, which it kind of resembles at the moment, or we even create an engulfing candle up here. Something to look for by the end of the day. Okay, next thing, while we're looking at some basic technical analysis here, is I think we should address the size of these two corrections, because there are some concerns, totally valid, that this correction for a minor wave degree is getting a little too big for this correction to be an intermediate wave degree, and vice versa. So let's say we just measure this in, we're going to measure them in retracements in Fibonacci in a moment using our fib tool, but we're just going to look at them in total price move at the moment, and we are in linear scale on the day time frame. This is a 25.49, so 25.5% move down in price. Now if this is a expanding flat, then we'll take the start of the A, not the swing B, but the start of the A, and assuming for the moment it's done, just assuming that it's done, 17% to 25.5. okay, so like an 8% difference ish, 8.5%. so this is smaller than this. Now if we look at the retracement, and let's say we take the dominant low back here, we get a 50% retracement. Okay, so let's just bring up our 50% retracement, and we get multiple candles testing it for support. Okay, 50% retracement here, so quite a deep one, not massively so. This first move down almost made it to the 61.8, but not quite, a little short. Okay, now if we move that up to there, does that make any difference? Not really. And then if we take a look at this recent correction, once again taking it from the A, not from the swing B. Just throw up my STS for this. This gives us the 38.2. No, why don't I have a 50 saved on here? I should. Save over that. I've changed it at some point. Okay, so currently we've got 38.2 and just slightly beyond. Okay, so it is smaller. In retracement and overall move, it's smaller. If we come up to the B wave, assuming that we had 3, 4, 5 rather than A, B, it's still not at 50% yet. Okay. Now, is there any structural support for this to have found a low here? What I mean by that is if we look at our intermediate low, we can see that we have clear structural support across multiple highs. So this area was resistance, this was resistance, this was resistance, this was resistance, this became support. Okay, so let's just throw a horizontal across the bottom of this hammer at the moment and see what we can see. Right, the first thing that sticks out is the most recent price activity here. There was resistance at this line 4 times, 4 days in a row before we broke higher, and then back tested the same levels before moving higher. So this candle, this candle, this candle, this candle all struggled around this level, so this was resistance. So in the short term at least, that's an explanation of its support. If we zoom out a bit, some support here, some resistance here, some support bang on the line here, some resistance here snagging around it, support here, and some resistance back here. So yes, it is a level. It's not the cleanest like it was back here, but there's support and resistance around this level all over the place, which could also provide previous resistance becoming support, and previous support can also act as support on the down during a corrective phase as well. So yes, there is evidence to suggest that this could be a low. Like I said, the candle is showing signs of life at the moment, but we're going to need something much more convincing than just that for a close. And volume, I'll have to look at a smaller time frame since it's still early in the day. I'd like to see volume pick up here. Now we did have a slight increase. Once again, I'm still using Bitstamp here, but I've looked at this on my alternate exchange, and the volume throughout this entire move up has not been particularly strong. This is one of the things, just to digress for a moment, which has been on the side of the bearish case the whole time, which is, but we have seen that before in wave 5s, you know, and like I said, if the volume were to suddenly pick up and momentum were to suddenly pick up and we were to fly out of here, we might have to change up the entire count and consider all of this a 1 rather than a, you know, sorry, this was a 1-2 back here, and this is a 1-2-1-2 with a larger 3. You'd have to go back and look at a previous video where I've discussed it before, but I will bring it back up in the future. In the meantime, we have had a slight increase in volume here. Could be the crescendo of the selling. We saw a slight increase back here, right? And this was the crescendo of this selling, so it was nothing enormous. I mean, this was more impressive, and then we ended up with a diversion here, declining volume to another low. I can't remember if we got it on the momentum indicators. Yes, we did. We got divergence here in the RSI and the MACD, and declining volume between these two lows here. So that was the big correction complete, essentially. You know, that was a major crescendo in the selling here. Now it could have been an A wave, this could be a deceptive B, and now volume could pick up in a C down. That would become self-evident if we break down. If we break down from here and volume increases, that will be an argument which supports the bearish idea of being in a C. Okay, so we've covered resistance and support, we've covered retracements, we've covered overall price move. So now we need to think about structure. So let's just bring up the count again for the moment. Okay, and then we're going to look at the shorter time frame here and see if we can make any sense of what we're looking at. So zoom in. And we're just going to come down to the 4 hour, shall we say? Yeah, so now the volume looks like a slightly different story here in the 4 hour. So we get a peak here up into R1. We then get declining volume here into this initial swing. Okay, we then get an increase of volume into the low. This is the crescendo of the selling for our A wave, right? We then get a very typical B, which is just a move to a higher high on lower volume. See, the whole thing, the high is here, right? This candle here, this bar and a volume here. The thrust down is the next big move. So this is either a 1, okay, of a new impulse down, or it's a 1 of a C wave. Now, as this trend increases down, the volume picks up and peaks here. Now this is either volume accelerating in an impulse down, or volume increasing as the price impulses down in a bearish count from a high, 1, 2, or it's the crescendo for selling in the C. Okay, now if that's the case, and we start to impulse out of here, volume should now start to rise over time. Okay, if we see and that should be supporting a price move up. Now if we see the opposite, price breaks down and volume starts to rise with the price moving down, then this is more likely one incomplete, we've got a little lower to go. Now if this is corrective, okay, so let's say this is a 1 and this is the bearish case 2 for a moment, then volume will continue to decline as we come up into the 2. If we then see volume spike with a move down, that means we're likely going into a 3 and it's bad news bears, or bad news bulls, sorry, I should say good news bears. But for the moment, on this time frame, we have seen a significant increase in the volume here. So this could be the low, possibly. Now we also made a lower low. C went beyond the A, we'd like to see that. Doesn't have to happen in a flat which is expansive, and this one was. Okay, what you could have had was 3, 3 to here, sorry, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to a higher low, and this would have been a running flat. But this is a true expansive flat. So what we should do now is measure the A from the B and see if we get any significant measurement, Fibonacci extension that we would be expecting. So take the A and measure here, 123.6 to the tick. That's kind of cool, I like that. We didn't make it to the 1618, which would have been a larger target for an expansive C wave, for a very aggressive C wave in an expanding flat I should say, but the 123.6 is a target. So A to B to C equals 123.6. Now we can see we tried to stop, but we didn't have the wave structure. We tried to stop around the 100. See, wick, 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 wick. We were trying to do it here. Counter trend move, flush down to the 123.6 here. So that would have been your idea for a running flat. 3, 3, 5 to here, stopping at the 100 before the A, but there wasn't the structure to do it. We didn't have 5 waves complete down here. We only had 3 to here. So now we put in that 4th, and now we put in that 5. So now we've got both structure, 3, 3, 5, fib target, lower low, crescendo in the volume. So all of that looks cool, you know. And you've always got to be cautious here, because I don't want to tell people, yeah, we've bottomed. Just saying, speaking as it's appearing, as it's changing live currently now, it's looking positive, but it's not confirmation yet. We want to see an impulsive move out of here. Okay, take out these lows, Take out these highs would be even nice, even better. 1, 3 waves back. 2, okay. See these lows hold, and then we're moving, and then we want to see momentum conditions, divergence between these lows. We'll check for that in the momentum indicators, and then see if we picked up any divergence. It's such a short and fast move, you won't find any on the day time frame, I guarantee it. There hasn't been enough time, but you might find it here on the 8 hour, sorry, or the 4 hour, or the 2 hour. So we'll look for that. Right, is there anything else I want to look at here? Now, where did we finish in the volume profile? Let's just come out and see what we can see for a moment. Overall, okay, so around all this support and resistance we discussed, this prior resistance here, around here, sorry, we found a peak in the volume profile, and we've basically bottomed out somewhere in the thick of it. So it's solid support, but it's only solid support for now. We've got to see bullish conditions return, impulsive price action return, momentum return, and preferably a bullish daily close for the candle, and then we want to see that transfer into a weekly bullish close. There's a lot to do. I don't think we could pull that off this week since we've come down in such a hurry, but if we were, my god, that would be extremely bullish if we could undo all of this damage today on Friday. Just, I don't think we can do that, but either way, so there you go. I think I've waffled on enough now. I don't think there's much else to talk about here. So this is the primary count. Oh yes, I was going to talk about the divergence, see if there is any. So let's have a look. Now on the 4 hour, yes there is, but obviously because it's a small, because we came down here in such a hurry, we've got a small divergence here between, yeah, so between these lows here, low, lower low, low, slightly higher low. Can't say the same in the MACD, so it's not that convincing. Doesn't give me total confidence. Let's have a look at it in the 2 hour, see if it's more convincing here. So yes, it is slightly more convincing in the 2 hour, but it should be. The correction was on a small time frame, and therefore smaller time frames will support the price action better. Low, higher low, low, higher low, and low, lower low, increasing volume into the end of the correction. Alright, so it's all to play for. If we come roaring out of here, I would start to become confident that we've bottomed, but like I said, early days yet. So there is positive divergence there. Like I said, there's no way it'll be there on the daily time frame because we haven't done enough to create another low for there to be divergence. Now you see there's just no sign of it. Haven't quite made it down into oversold conditions. Like I said, we don't have to. It's a smaller correction. We are very close to oversold conditions. We're still holding the signal above the zero band. The average has dropped below it here on the MACD, and we continue to increase red bars to the downside, accelerating to the downside on the daily time frame. A positive daily close will sap away this negative momentum, and you'll see some lighter bars that appear here on the histogram for the daily close. That would also be a sign that momentum is shifting. How did that look on the 4 hour? So the final push down in the latest wave down on the 4 hour saw less activity here in the histogram than the prior wave, and that has seen greater volume behind it. Right, so momentum is cooling off, negative momentum is cooling off. And in the same story here, this initial move down had more behind it than this little final move down, even though there was more volume in the final move down. So all of this points towards it concluding something. Now it could just be a temporary low before we consolidate and then thrust lower in a more bearish candle. It could be the 1, right, before we go ABC 2, and then all of this could be consolidatory. So it's a low. I think it's a low. It's just whether it's a permanent low, so to speak, or a temporary one of a counter trend move or a bottom, is what I'm trying to say. Alright, okay, I don't think we're going to have time to go through any alts. If I find time, I will throw out one more video over the weekend just on some alts, but with so much going on at the moment in Bitcoin alone, I think it's important to stay up to date here in the meantime. So the final thing I wanted to talk about before we consider a couple of other accounts is this an impulse down, or because I've seen some people saying this is 5 and then this is A, B, C. I don't really buy that, because I don't see 5 waves here that make any sense. That looks like 3 if you're going to count it like that. I could definitely get 5 in here for a 3, and then another 5, which supports the idea of it being 1, 2. The size of the 2 is enormous in comparison to the 4, there's no doubt about that. That is a little confusing in terms of do they belong to the same wave degree, but one thing I have noticed is if we take these lows here and join them together, we get a trend line, and if we take these highs here and bring them down, we get a wedge shape. So what if it's a bunch of zigzags and it's a diagonal in a C, an ending diagonal? So what we could do is we could take bear with me, my brain's just trying to think. A, B, C, this would be the 0, this would be the 1, and instead of trying to force 5 waves into here, we could say A, B, C, zigzag into a 1, lower low, C to the A, B, C, zigzag into 2. This is a bit problematic, you know, because this doesn't look like a pure 3-wave move. That's the only thing which puts me off the idea of this being a diagonal, plus the fact that we don't get any overlap. Doesn't have to happen, okay, but no overlap. But we've got the shape of a diagonal, so maybe we've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 diagonal, and we're going to pop out of here. Okay, so breaking this downward trend line would be another positive sign as well. Get above this, take out these highs, and just keep going. All of that would be positive. Not sold on that idea now that I've just done it. I was just thinking out loud that it is possible. I'm going to save a chart like that for the moment. Alright then, now let's come back out to the daytime frame, and we're going to look at the count which I was chatting to with my patrons on Discord just the other day. I've started doing live analysis via a voice channel on the Discord where I can share my screen, people can join, I give notice, and then everybody can get in and have a chat and ask me questions live while we look at the charts in real time. So if you're interested in becoming a patron, that will be one of the ongoing benefits. It isn't finalised yet, it's something I'm still working on what I want the format to be. It will probably be starting soon within the next couple of weeks. But we'll see how it goes. It will become a constant feature in the future though, where I'll be doing either live analysis weekly or be looking at some people's chart requests. I might mix it up and do different things each time. Either way, it'll be an opportunity for people to come in, observe live analysis and ask questions live as they happen, and talk to me verbally, directly, rather than having to just communicate in chat. So if that's something that might interest you, you might want to consider joining up. Alright then, so what are we doing for time? Alright, sorry, I just realised I was getting on already. Remove this. We'll put these into the bullish holder for the moment. Okay, so the count we were discussing is this. Alright, because I find this quite interesting. Let's try and center the screen. So what if we still bottomed down here in a 4, and this is primary 5? We're not going to make it to 130k, we're not going to make it to much higher, but we're actually going to top out not far from here. Now it could be an extended 5 and it could hit all of those targets, that's a possibility, so we're going to talk through that. But just taking the channel for a moment of projecting the 1 to the 3 to find the 5, a move up to here could complete. So what supports this idea and what goes against it? Well, the first thing that supports it is alternation in form. We have a flat pattern and we have a zigzag. Okay, so alternation in form. This excuses now the longer time consumption over this correction because they are now the same wave degree at intermediate degree. Rather than saying intermediate into minor, they're both intermediate, and therefore this is perfectly acceptable. We've come straight to the edge of the channel here, and we found support around this peak in the volume profile, around our point of control. Okay, around all this previous noise that we discussed, and around this previous resistance. So all of this looks like it could be the 4 complete. What else supports this? Well, what else supports it is the retracement we've made. Okay, typical retracement for a wave 4 is 38.2. We stopped at the 38.2. We stopped around the volume. We stopped around that point of control. I'd have to put in a fixed control to find exactly where it was. It's everything from this bar all the way back here to present day gives us a point of control of this peak here. Stopped at the edge of the channel, stopped at the point of control, stopped at the 38.2, and we haven't invalidated the wave 1, which is here at 52958.51. So I wasn't really considering this at all unless I go all the way back to a previous count, which was working on the idea of this being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, we've had this swing move now, so I think that one I've discarded completely, but this one is now an option. So they're all the things that support it, and it's pretty compelling. Things that are not so compelling, so we'll talk about the negatives. Wave 3 is short, not shorter than 1. It's longer than 1 in linear terms. Falls short of it in log, but linear is the tiebreaker, as I explained the other day to my patrons. You know, if you must make a measure in the same wave degree, and you have to have a tiebreaker about whether a 3 is longer or shorter, you have to accept it in linear. If it couldn't do it in linear, it couldn't do it at all. Okay, if it does do it in linear, that trumps log inside the same wave degree, would be my argument. Okay, in that sense it is longer than the 1, but it is still short for a wave 3. Doesn't come to the 123.6, doesn't come to the 130.18, doesn't come to the 1618, 2618, 3618. It's short, but it's valid because it's longer than the 1, and therefore it can't possibly be the shortest wave. The next thing is it's very short in time. This 1, whether we take the dominant low or the truncated low as our count, here's the wave 1 and the wave 3, seems, let's just measure it, but I think it's shorter all round. So the wave 1 to the peak took 49 days. The wave 3 to the peak took 29 days, significantly shorter. There is acceleration initially from what is, you know, essentially a slower wave 1 and then an acceleration, but it stops very abruptly, and then we go into this flat pattern. So what this means is, with the wave 3 being longer than the 1 but not being extended, and no sign of multiple extension in the 1, this just looks like an impulse. This just looks like an impulse. That means there currently hasn't been an extended wave. So this opens the door, because there normally is an extension in every 5 wave move. Doesn't happen always, but there normally is at least one extended wave. And if it hasn't been the 1 and it hasn't been the 3, then the 5 is a possibility. So what you could see is, rather than a move up to the channel here for the 5, you could see some kind of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Whoops daisy. Let's try that again. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, and you could get a monstrously extended wave 5. That's possible because the wave 3 hasn't set a limit for the wave 5. If the wave 3 has been shorter than the 1, that means the wave 5 cannot be longer than the 3, otherwise the 3 would be the shortest and not a valid impulse. Right? But with the wave 3 being longer than the 1, this means that there is no limit on the 5. The 5 could just go plonk itself in here. You have a 5 wave impulse, no overlap, no extension in any wave. Okay, because I mean that can happen. It does happen, but it is more common to see one of the waves extend. So maybe we'll get an extension in the 5th. So this is just one of those counts that has come about and I was slow considering it because the unwillingness to accept a short 3 and say, oh no, that can't, that's got to be 1, 2 again, surely we couldn't have stopped here for a 3. You see, you can talk yourself into anything. Now we do have an invalidation point down here, 52958 spot 51, right? If the price continues lower below here, this entire count, this alternative is completely wrong. It's immediately invalidated. So we can scrub this one if we move below that level, because it's no longer a valid impulse, and there's no way this is a diagonal. Right, it just doesn't count as one. Counts, there's too many 5-way structures going on. It's not a bunch of zigzags. So because of that, I would say that this is, if we go below this level, that's immediately invalidated. We fall out of this trend anyway, and that would be this count gone. But for the meantime, if we reverse here, we've still got a doji now. It's no longer a hammer, it's a little doji, but I have no idea how it's going to close the day. But if we were to get a sudden move out of here, maybe a bullish engulfing, all of a sudden this is still valid, and then you've got problems, because you don't know whether you're going to be dealing with an extended 5 or if the whole thing could be over at a primary 5 up here. Not something I was considering. Now, on that note, why wasn't I considering it? I'm still not a fan of it at all. If this is primary 5 up here, and this is primary 3, whether you take it here or whether you take it here as part of an A, B, C swing, or whether you take it as a W, X, Y, however you take that relationship, 3 here, the 5 has only just cleared it. You say, oh no, it's up at 80, this was 64. Yeah, but look at the length of the primary 3, and take the length of the primary 1 in log and project it from 4 grand or 3,800, and then look at it from the bottom of the 4. You know, I've done that before in previous videos, and it's tiny. You know, so we'd expect to see wave 5 go way higher, way higher. So there is a route there, either the extended 5th in this count or the 1-2-1-2 we've been looking at. Okay, so that's the update I've got for Bitcoin. I think if I go on any more now, I'm literally just going over the same old ground again. The only other thing was primary count, alternate count. This one here, which is probably my least favourite, is the one ended up here at minor degree rather than A, B, C. We somehow went 3, 4, 5 for a really screwed up 4 and a very sudden short 5th into a 1. And this is ABC complete down here with 5 waves in the C. Not a fan of that. Okay. I don't really see any point in looking at that. The bearish case we'll finish off on here, which is A, B, C. And we mustn't write this off. This is always going to be an option. Okay, until we clear this high, this is an option. Because whatever we put in down here, let's say this is 3, 4, and we have to take that screwed up 5th to get up here. So let's say it's there, right? Now, I don't like it as the conclusion of an impulse, but if we were to break down here, I can live with it as a corrective move. Not a fan of it. If this had ended here, right, that would have been a way better B wave completion. This swing here with 3 and 3, it screws up any way of trying to get a 5th to end up here. So I'm tolerating this for the meantime because we've broken trend. When I say trend, I mean the short-term trend. So this move here, we've broken the trend here, and now we're falling lower. So it's either a 2 or it's the beginning of something much more malicious potentially, which is this will be 5 waves down, 1, 2, 3, 4. This could be a temporary low for a 3 into a 4 into a 5 into a 1. Bump, bump, bump. 2, 3, 4, 5. Down to here. This is always going to be an option for as long as we stay below the highs. Any move over the next week or so which takes us to new highs screws this up. The only way it could remain an option would be if this 3, 3, 5 that we've got here as a 1, 2, and I know this is just another pain in the arse. This is 3 and this becomes 4, right? So because you know what I'm saying about the bullish count, 1, 2. Remember we were just talking about that. 3, 4, 5. You see, this could also be 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think we could call it ABC at that point anymore, so I think that would be the bullish case. But that could still potentially finish atop closer than we expect. Okay, so if this breaks down further, if volume continues to support after we have some kind of correction, continues to support a wave 3 down, momentum continues to shift negatively, we take out this high here, then as we come down and invalidate these bullish counts, this becomes the only option. And that's that. And I think once we break all of those bullish options, so the 1, 2 would be far too big at minor time frame to be legitimate. The 3, 4 would be invalid because of going past the high. Okay, so once you take out this high, and continue to thrust lower, you got problems, really. So it is a bit now or never. We're either going 3, 4 or 1, 2. Once we take out this high, we're going to have to seriously consider the bearish case. Alright, and we'd be waiting for a retracement into a 2 to help confirm. That's everything I've got to say about Bitcoin now, and it has been going on way longer than I expected. There's no time to do the alts today, so we're going to have a quick look at Ethereum and then move on. So here we are on Ethereum, and actually I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I've spent so much time talking about Bitcoin, I'm going to do a separate video on Ethereum just to try and keep the time of this one down. You can have 2 videos instead of 1. How's that? Alright guys, thank you for joining me on this technical analysis of Bitcoin. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel and you like what you've seen, please smash the like, hit the little bell notification icon to remain informed of future video releases. Feel free to leave us a comment in the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much to my Patreons. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon, we're getting towards the end of the month, or into the last third of the month now, so you might want to wait until the start of December really, so you can get full value, a full month's worth of value, rather than joining up. But it's totally up to you. There's a link in the description below if you are interested. Go over, have a read of the tiers, see if there's anything you like. And if you're not following me on Twitter yet, there's a link to my Twitter feed as well. Alright guys, take care, and I will be back with you shortly with an update on Ethereum. Alright, take care, bye bye.